All right, and welcome back to another episode of the Live Your Dreams podcast. I am your host, Joe Gawalis, along with my amazing co-host, Mr. Chris Victor. You're silent there, buddy. Chris Victor's here. He's here. He's ready to rock and roll. Well, Chris, we had a great weekend. We had a lot of fun. And last week, we had the pleasure of launching the podcast. We had some amazing guests on so far. And just want to thank all of our fans for tuning in and listening. We've had an overwhelming amount of people tuning in. It's just been fantastic. I mean, Chris, you must feel great about that also.
Oh, it's amazing trip.
You know, and it's great to keep bringing the dreamers to light and people that follow their dreams, into the homes of everybody listening. And this next individual is just an incredible person that's going to be coming on. I mean, she started her career as an actress and a model. She's been in such fantastic productions as General Hospital, The Red Corvette. As a model, she posed for Levi Jeans, Victoria's Secret, Hawaiian Tropics. I mean, she has done so much. And after that, she was able to propel herself into not only forming another dream, but helping so many of us dreamers follow our passion in life, and opened up MWA Models, an amazing individual who owns that agency, Miss Katherine Messa. Welcome her to the show.
Hey, thank you. What a sweet introduction.
Well, you deserve it all. Yeah. But so much, really. You are such an impressive individual, really. Everything you've done in your career by, being in front of the camera and modeling, to then opening up an agency and changing so many great lives. Really, what you do is incredible.
Thank you. That definitely makes me feel good. You're not your words alone, but the process of being able to help everybody. Every time I send out payroll, I'm like, yes, another rent paid, right?
That's right.
We all know the struggle of trying to live in New York City and make that rent and stay there. So I'm always so proud whenever somebody books anything through the agency, because I know I could help them be in New York and live their dream a little longer.
Well, tell it that, and that must feel so good, like you said. And tell us a little bit more about it, because your agency is incredible. You represent a lot of great actors and models out there, and we'd love to hear more about kind of how that journey started and what took you from being in front of the camera to kind of now going in this direction and changing other lives that way.
Yeah, it was a crazy career too. I never actually saw it coming, but I love what I do now and change it for the world. So how it all happened is I originally went to school for musical theater, and I thought I'd be on Broadway by now, but that was extremely hard. And everything that I studied in school with classical theater is gone. It's just now, reality show contest winners on Broadway stage singing songs on the radio. Awesome. I love it, but it's not me. It's not what I studied. It's not how I trained. So I figured I'd take a different direction and start doing film, television, commercial, really any acting job I can get, because that's really what I wanted to do. So I was finding little gigs here and there, like you mentioned, those couple of projects, and they were all exciting. But like I was saying before, you need to find a way to stay in New York and figure out a way to make it. So I was always working a bunch of other jobs in between, like auto shows, right? And I was like, what am I doing? I want to be on Broadway shows, not doing auto shows. But it was really fun at the time, because you got paid to travel the country and, do everything on BMW's dime. So you made good money while you were at it. But I was missing auditions left and right. So I was constantly sending my friends to go and do these jobs I couldn't do. Or even when I was back and not on the road doing that, I was booking a lot of my own things, because I worked with 100 different companies, because I wanted to sing and dance and act and model and do whatever I could make money and enjoy my time doing. So I couldn't really find one company that did it all. And a friend of mine was an entertainment lawyer and was actually helping me out with a few things I had, like Hawaiian Tropics. I had a contract with, and I needed help. So he was like, look, you're booking all your own work. You're doing all these own jobs. Why don't you get an agency license? This way you could take commission off of your friends and all the extra hustling you're doing. And I was like, genius. Why did I? Right? But I had no idea what it took to get a license and start your own business. I just thought I'd be able to make 20%.
Well, the one word you mentioned was hustle, and the epitome of that word. I mean, I've seen you hustle throughout the years. I know you prior from Manhattan, as well as now working together. It's just amazing. You're an amazing person. I love what you're doing.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, it's definitely been quite the hustle. And now I feel like I develop little hustlers too. They're all I like to bring on people that are similar in our aspect where they're very motivated. They're driven to live their dreams and, pursue their passions. Because a lot of people are like, yeah, I'd try that. And I'm like, that can see me when you're ready, because we're not about trying here. We're not about getting started or testing it out, dipping your feet in the water. Like, we're going for this, right?
Absolutely.
Of course, I love to help anybody who's new and doesn't know how to get started and, needs a little bit of guidance in the right direction. But I really only take people on that I know are going to be doing this full time, take it seriously. And of course, full time meaning you have 5 other part time jobs.
Thanks.
But ones that are flexible enough for when I call you, you can just get to set and do the job. So yeah, so basically I started off with me and my 30 other girlfriends at the time who were doing the same thing. And then I needed guys, so I recruited all their boyfriends, and they told their friends, and now I represent over 300 people across the country. So it was pretty awesome because our main focus in the beginning was just live events and promo modeling, brand ambassadors, things that we can do to make extra money between auditions, but still be entertaining related. So I always told everybody, bring your cards, network, let's keep growing together. And it worked out great because not only did I create an office in New York, but in 2020, before everything got shut down and life was good, I opened up an office in LA, and I was able to expand out there as well. And then we became SAG franchised, and now that strike's going on. So, every time I get to the next milestone where I'm like, yes, finally, we've done it, and it gets struck back down again. But nothing scares me anymore at this point because it's been 10 years. Of over 20 years of acting. So I know it's not going to crush me. It's not going to, close doors. We just got to figure out another way, outside of the gate, I guess,
You're saying all my favorite words. Figure it out was the best advice I ever got from a friend of mine.
Right?
You learn to navigate around these obstacles, and something new comes about, like a podcast.
Yeah, podcaster is the thing right now. This is so cool. I'm excited to be on one, especially a successful one about something that I'm passionate about too. So,
No, absolutely. And you said it. I think what needs to be said in this business, and people really need to hear, is you are going to hit all those hurdles and hiccups. And it's not only like you're going to hit the hurdles, you're going to run right into them. You're going to have to get up and figure a lot more stuff out. And you need to pursue your dreams in this business. You need to have very thick skin and be willing to keep on going, because you're absolutely right. Every time you think you have it figured out or something's going your way, there may be another obstacle in front of you. And this business is not one that's going to just, keep handing you any opportunities. You have to go out and create your own and really be willing to get up again and keep pushing. So that's very brave of you to do that, but also a great thing that you explain that to your actors and your models around you, because people need to hear the truth. Otherwise, they're going to get hurt in this business and not, give up too soon.
Yeah, and I think that's really why people like working with me, because I've been in your shoes. I understand what you deserve. I totally get where you're coming from. I'm not just a really big agency that has to hit numbers that a lot of talent gets lost in the shuffle. You will hear from me all the time. Even if it's not about an audition, it's still something motivational or something somebody at the agency is doing that we could all be a part of, or advice on what I think would be good for you in your career next. I'm constantly going over everyone's profiles to make sure that they are set up for success, even if there's not too much work right now. What we're focused on is making sure you have the right tools to get back out there and you're ready for when it does come back. So, I'm super hands-on. And if you do get the job, I like to go to set. I like to make sure that you're being treated well. Our clients are happy with their services, that you're going to be booked on the next thing that they have in mind as well, because they're so happy with the way everything went, that you get paid on time, so I get paid. All of those things, it's not just another number and another paycheck. It's a lot more to me.
No, that's great. And your clients need that, because again, like you said, so many clients, so many people in the business don't understand the business aspect to it. And again, you've been an actress, you've been a model, you also know the business aspect. I think so many people that are going out there, especially young talent, don't understand the business aspect of that, because you really can't be taught that without experience of somebody like you guiding them along the way. So the fact that you will go to set and teach these actors says so much about you, because not many people are willing to take the time to do that. It really sets you apart in such a great way.
Thank you. And I hope I can continue to stay that way. Everyone's like, no matter how big this gets, don't change. And I was like, I don't plan on it. But you can see how people get greedy down the line. And
Well, I love that you mentioned as treat it as a business, because you have to take inventory. You have to see what's working, what's not working. You also, being like a mother, which you are now, also a proud mother of a beautiful baby, you treat us with kid gloves, which is fantastic. We couldn't ask for anything more.
yeah, I've always been the mom, even out of my friends groups when we would go out on Friday nights. I would be the person that had everything in my purse that anyone needed in case, there was an accident. So in my nature, I like, paying it forward and giving back and connecting people and seeing what works and always thinking about like what the next thing's going to be and how I could help that next person that I meet. It's just how my brain operates. I'm always on the next step, or like even in being in the present moment. But it's very different when a lot of people just sit there and like dwell in the past and their misery and the job that they didn't get and how they stuck on their last audition and that they're never going to make it. I never once thought like that. Yeah. I always thought about every audition being an opportunity to perform in New York in front of the greatest audience ever, even if it's just one person. That could be the most important person to your career. And, I would get butterflies like I was about to go on stage and do a show just for an audition. So I really hope that all of my actors feel that same way too, because it is a great opportunity. You don't know what it's going to lead to next. So I don't like when people say no. Every time I have a new talent meeting, I'm like, I hope you're one of those people that say yes to everything, because I'm a big, just say yes fan.
No, you're absolutely right, because if you're not in it, you can never win it. People don't realize the opportunity, especially in New York and around places, that you might meet that one person that can change your whole life any time. And I think it's, again, all about the experience, getting out there and doing things and networking. If you don't know people, you might be, we know these, these networking events people go to a lot, especially before 2020, when people used to be out a lot. You may meet the next young director, the next young producer, somebody that can take your career, that could really propel you to that next level. And if you're not at that opportunity, you'll never get there. You need to be out and about, I think, as an actress or an actor, to really meet more people.
Yeah. And just be present everywhere you go too. So many people just like roll out of bed and don't care anymore. You can clearly see it. And I was like, I would never do that. I feel like I need to be dressed, ready to take on the day.
Sure.
I like to use the word present. I mean, as actors, we have to be present. Otherwise, it doesn't read well on the camera. So it's all about being present, all about being aware of your surroundings and context.
Yeah. And I think people are getting a little bit more lazy about it now too, because you could audition from home, right? So some of these tapes I'm seeing, I'm like, I'm not sending that. You have to, comb your hair and turn on the light.
How are you liking this? Are you enjoying this new world where we are doing self-tapes, or do you feel that actors gave a lot more back before that was going on?
I feel it's more necessary for people to do online workshops with casting directors now, so they can understand the whole self-tape aspect of it, because you don't get the opportunity to be in the room with them anymore, where they would give you feedback and a second chance to do it again, right? You are now your own critic, and you're like, I don't like that, let me retape it. And yes, you have a chance to retape it 100 times, where in the room, maybe you get once or twice, but you don't really get the casting director's notes or feedback on how to do it again. And that's why those workshops, I think, are so great. Not only because now they get to know you and how dedicated and talented you are and cast you next time they see you in something, but you're also getting step-by-step instructions on how to do this at home and what exactly they're looking for, because I may not see things the way casting directors see them. And I like to watch the tapes, especially if somebody's like, can you let me know these before I send it? I don't watch all of them. A lot of them, I trust that you're going to do a great job and you can just self-submit in order to get it in on time, because everybody loves to send it at the deadline. And if they send it to me at the deadline, then it's I can't get it to the casting directors by then. So that's why I give everybody that option. But I also have to be down everybody's throats for when it was like you have to get dressed, get on a subway, stand in line, and wait for your turn at the audition. People would go. Now that it's, stop what you're doing and just shoot it from your cell phone, I get so many more declines and people missing the deadlines and not uploading it. And I'm like, what is going on here?
That's excellent feedback. I'm so glad you addressed that, so people know that they're not. There's a way to do it, basically, and you're
Yeah. Yeah. And now I have to like call and text and find people and I send out the messages over and over again. You'd be surprised. Even people were like, you didn't DM me. I'm like, what do you mean? You don't even know your Instagram handle. What do you, I'm supposed to DM you? Like, I don't understand why they're so attached to their Instagram and TikTok, but they won't stop what they're doing to pursue their dream. Because it takes a lot of work on our end to get these auditions. I will submit all day, every day, whenever I have a free chance to. And whenever, they come back and they're like, nah, I'm like, oh my gosh, how much effort it took to get you this? Why? Why are you saying no?
No, I can see the frustration, and you're right. I think people understand how valuable that is because, again, especially if you never did it, pre-pandemic, how we all had to take those subways to each audition to walk in that room for, 5 minutes just to sit in there with the casting director. They get that feedback and do that multiple times a day in a week. I mean, that took a lot of time, and one audition for granted. Everybody was so happy just to get any of them. And I don't know how you feel about this. It feels like a lot of bad habits may be created in up-and-coming actors because let's say they are doing a self-tape and they do it 100 times or 50 times and they keep doing it over and over in their own self-critic. They're not going to have that opportunity on set. It's almost losing that, when you're in a casting director's room, you get that rush of adrenaline. You have to perform. You need to be on. It's almost like you're on set. When you go for the first time, especially the first time you're guest starring, co-starring, anytime you actually have the camera on you, and you have those lights on you, and you see all the crew walking around, and you hear action for the first time. When you go from a smaller independent or, college films to a real TV show, it's such a big jump. And if you're not used to having that, I have to perform now and I can record it 30 times and be okay, it may be detrimental in the long run.
Oh, yeah. I think definitely the new generation coming into this is going to be so lost and confused. Especially if you're just studying theater in college. It was a rude awakening graduating from that and going just straight out to the auditioning world in the first place. Never mind this new high-tech world that we're in. I don't even know if they're teaching that, but there needs to be a more of the business of show business type courses when you're studying that in school because it was more focused on the performance aspect of it. Now the auditions are a whole other level. So it has its perks. It is beneficial, especially for people who have to work full time. They can just jump out to the break room and get a coworker to do it for them real quick, versus having to take their entire lunch break to maybe get in the audition. So now it's much better in that way. But I totally see your point, right, about they may be good on camera because they did it 50 times. But are they going to be good on set when they get that one chance?
It's a completely, that we've all been there. It's a completely different thing. And I don't think there could be an actor in the world that can say the first time you're on that big set and those lights go on and it's everything on you and it's your first close up. Everyone was nervous that first time, Yeah.
Everybody.
It's like petrifying, Yeah, if you're not used to getting it right in one or two times, stuff. We had a friend of ours, great actor, was on an earlier episode from The Sopranos, and he was saying his first episode on Law and Order he was on, and he had a lot of recurring roles on things. He said all of a sudden they said, you know what, we're just going to do this in one long Steadicam shot, and we're going. That's your first time on TV. What do you do in that situation? You can't say no. You're not going to fight the director on a show. That's it. You're going. So you really have to prepare yourself a little better. You're absolutely right. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, so when opportunity meets preparation, that's when you success. That's when you're lucky. And all of a sudden, I'm lucky because I prepared beforehand and I had the opportunity. I'm able to kill it because he even mentioned about practicing in all different scenarios where there's distractions that go on, not just sitting down and rehearsing your line where you just ingrain it in one way in your brain and then they throw you a curveball.
Yeah, there's so many distractions these days. It was hard enough to memorize your lines anyway. Back in the day when there was like just cable TV. Now there's so many different streaming platforms. You want to catch up on your show or listen to your favorite podcast. So I can focus on the lines and memorizing.
No, it's tough for everybody. I mean, now talking about tough for everyone, there's a lot of great up and coming actors, and I think you're probably going to be listening to this, especially this episode, and trying to learn from somebody like yourself. Is there any places, and again, it's not like you're endorsing these places. There's, you mentioned some, online casting director places, students can kind of go, or younger actors. Is there any place you would ever recommend, or places for somebody to take a look at if you'd be open to kind of talking about that with the listeners?
Yeah, I like the smaller casting sites for people who are just getting started, like Backstage and New York Casting, because they have a lot of advice and actual articles as well as resources for young talent to use. And they may not necessarily be the highest paying jobs, but you have to have experience and start somewhere first. So getting in and doing those student films or doing, independents or low budgets or web series or anything that they can find themselves to build up their resume, build up their reel and their experience. I think it's so helpful for them to be able to start up a profile on there and learn from scratch on their own before they even come to an agency after that. And then we'd get them signed up for the other sites we use, like Casting Networkers and Actors Access, because those have the bigger shoots when they're ready to move on to that. We're going to be looking out not only for the bigger role, but more money, and things that will be even steady work. So I always, when people were like, well, I don't know where to get started, I was like, on those sites like Backstage, they have lists of photographers where you can't go to school without a paper and pen. You can't be an actor without a headshot and a resume. So you can't send me a selfie and, links to your YouTube channel for things that you've done, on TikTok. I need an actual reel. I need actual credits. And then I'll be able to help you from there. But there's so many, I guess, influencers out there now, which are great that they're, inspiring people to get out there and do what they've always dreamed of, which is awesome. But you have to take the right steps and direction to do it. You can just jump in and be like, I want to do this. I'm ready. So
How do you feel about that, actually, Katherine, about the social media and TikToks and Instagrams and things like that as a self-promotion tool for you as an actor?
I think it's good. We have platforms on all of them. I actually just changed everything last week, and we're going to do a big relaunch from MWA Models to MWA Talent now, because we represent everybody across the board in singing, dancing, acting, posting, modeling. It's not just models at events anymore like it was in the beginning. So we've really transitioned, and I want to make sure that our name represents that as well. Also, because I saw a really sad movie called The Sound of Freedom.
Oh, yeah.
And it was all about these poor little babies, and they kept calling them models. And I was like, I don't want to be associated with that word anymore. We're changing everything.
Sure.
I just felt so bad about it. So we're rebranding our website and our email addresses. Everything's now going to be MWA Talent. But back to your question. Sorry, I went down a rabbit hole there. Only because I wanted to say what our handle is, MWA Talent now instead of MWA Models. And so I use it a lot to post all of the commercials that we've done or the print ads that we do. And I follow a lot of casting directors and even just young directors and writers just to see what's going on. I'm following a lot of the news about the strike and just the latest things. It's easier to open up, the HollywoodReporter.com than to have a big old magazine now. So same thing with Backstage. I used to have to go down to the newsstands and buy the actual newspaper. Remember that? They weren't easy to find. And then you would send in your headshot and your resume. So now you could just DM someone your headshot and be like, how about me? There's always castings on there. So like right now, things are super slow on Actors Access. So we've actually been searching places like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram to find other castings outside of the box to find people. And you know what? I'm getting responses but they're like, well, we're not looking for models. We want real people. And I'm like, well, we've hired a lot of real people because that's all they've wanted since the pandemic. They want real families or, real friends. So I really casted a wider net and helped them grow their portfolios too, because they weren't necessarily actors, but they were people who were thinking like, yeah, that could be fun.
There's another thing I like to address also, that there's work that we can and work that we cannot do, and you actually sent it out to all your artists, all the people the talent that you're representing.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to address some of that as well, because we know movies and TV, but there are commercials, auditions. You see them out there, very few,
Yeah.
but they're
Yeah.
come. And maybe you want to expand on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, SAG sent out a list. I think anybody, you don't have to be SAG in order to see this,
Yes.
right? Anyone could go onto this,
Yeah.
after a website. And there's a list of all of the productions that have signed their agreement so far and are in good standing that you are allowed to work on. So little by little, we are seeing TV shows and films, especially ultra low, micro budgets, things that are that have had the agreements already, and are able to go back into production. Commercials were never affected. You could still work on union commercials if they come in, because it's all about the streaming and the network getting more money from film and television. So there are still a lot of the bigger studios we won't be seeing for a little while, but at least I heard we're finally willing to set up a meeting and start the negotiations, because for the longest time it was standoff. Nobody wanted to talk to anybody. So now they're talking about making compromises. So that's one step in the right direction. But in the meanwhile, do wonderful things like this podcast. We're okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's the thing that so many actors have to realize, is that the strike is not against, the independent producers and the lower budget films. So please continue to support your independent producers and your fellow, people that are climbing up the ranks. SAG and the WGA, they're not striking against the hard workers that are out there. It's a completely different thing. Just because you may be a quote unquote producer, that is not the same as someone that's working at the studio at that level. It's completely different. Even producers that are represented by the PGA are completely different. So a lot of difference, and everybody please do their research, because there's so many great projects we can still work on and still support each other. Very important to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I do have some actors that say they just do not want to work during the strike, and you have to, be compliant to their wishes. But I have people that go down the dark web to try to find that once upon a time they worked with this studio, so they no longer want to work with that person. And I'm like, suit yourself. But hopefully you have a family that can support you, because we're not going to send you anything that we can't do either. We're also part of the union and an agency. So nobody wants to break any rules, get in trouble, or, not benefit. We're totally team talent at MWA, where we want this strike to come out, win, and be over soon.
No, you're absolutely right. And then that's the key. That it's for everybody. We do want it to end soon, but end the right way. And it's interesting, talking about talent that is out there already. There's a lot of new talent that's going to be coming in. You mentioned it a little bit earlier, though. But, for these people that want to reach out and they think they're ready or ready for an agent, somebody like yourself or other people that are out there, what do you suggest they make sure to take the first steps? Because you did say the basics, your toolbox, make sure you have your headshot, your reel, your resume. Is there anything else that you really suggest these people really do before they start reaching out to agents? Because I know you don't want to send emails or phone calls too prematurely. How would you feel that they, the steps they should take before they approach somebody like yourself?
Well, so some agencies are like, yeah, all I'm doing right now is recruiting talent, because I'll have everybody a good roster for when everything opens back up. But I feel a little bit opposite about that, where the work is so limited right now. I don't want to take on anybody new, because I want the people that I represent right now to have the limited opportunities that are there, and not somebody new. So everyone that does reach out to me, I write back to every single person. I always say, I love your profile. I like it. On my computer, please circle back with me when the strike is over. I'd love to get to know you more. Or we have calls like this. We always jump on Zoom for new talent meetings to tell people what I'm looking for, how we expect everything to run. My biggest thing is I'm looking for people with open availability and dedication, right? This isn't a game here where you could just like sometimes do if you feel like it, right? I really need people that are coming at this strong and ready to work. So this way, when they do have work for us, we're on it, and we're not saying no. Because casting directors really don't like to hear that. One time we did a workshop with a casting director, and she said her stomach hurts every single day when she reads through all the reasons why people are telling her no. So, I want to make sure that when I'm bringing everybody on, they're like, oh, yes, 100%, I will be there. Let's do this. The other things I'd like to always tell people that they don't think to necessarily have is if you have special skills, make sure you have pictures of those, footage of you doing those things, because I'm not going to send you out for, like the other day, I know this one guy on our roster is very talented. He does musicals all the time, and he has a great dance reel, but he didn't have any footage of him singing anywhere. And I submitted him for In the Heights, assuming that he did, and they wrote back to us, we need to see his singing reel, right? And obviously, if that's not up on your media, they're not going to cast you for it. Luckily, they liked his look and they liked what they did see, but they're asking for more. You don't want to have to ask them for more. Most people are just going to move on to the person who does have their singing reel in their media bin. So make sure you have that. Like, even if it's basketball or soccer or knitting, I don't care what it is. Have like a photo of you doing it, because it makes it so much easier for people to cast when you have that up there. And the other thing is not only having that up there, but having it labeled correctly. Like, it needs to say like Joe directing or like Chris skiing, right? It needs to be very, very clear that this is what you're doing and who you are, so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. And I'm not looking through 1,000 photos and trying to rename them all according to what I think that they could be good for, because that streamlines the process. A lot of the times when we have specialty, especially in the commercial world, where they need you to do something unique, because that's all there is right now in commercials, is very, very diverse. So when I'm going through everybody's media bin to try to find what's the best thing to add with this submission to get them the part, there's things that are called like, green thumbs, right? Like, I don't know what green thumb is. Is that a drama? Is that a romance? Right? And it's very, very helpful for me if you write like Joe Green Thumb drama, right? So then this way I'm submitting it to the appropriate piece that day. Because there's so many times where people send me pictures from their phones, and it's like a selfie and it's blown up when I try to open it. I have to scroll over just to see their eyeball. And then it goes like file 6732. I'm like, nope, next. You're not ready.
I remember mentioning that also when we used to look through demos reels for actors. I would mention to put their best stuff in the front, because, and when it's crunch time, you may, if they're not good in the beginning, to get to the end of the reel where they may.
Yeah. The reels I love right now are the ones that just open up like boom with an action scene. They're not even saying their names, their contact, anything. They just get right at you. I'm like, this is a really good reel. I love this strategy on this. And then on the back end, it captures them in, and then it has their information like that. So I think that's a really good presentation if people need to update their reels right now to make it look like that. But also from that same casting director workshop that we did, she mentioned that they're not even watching reels right now. They're watching 10-second clips.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We're suggesting to pick up your reel and give them just the stuff that they need for that, right? Because your reel may have 5 different types of categories of performances that you've done. And maybe they don't need to see you tap dance for, a Colgate commercial.
Yes.
Oh, and that's the other thing too. If you think you have horrible teeth or horrible hands, and that's why you don't have a smiling picture showing your teeth, or a picture with your hands somewhere shown, that is going to hurt you so badly, because there are so many commercials for like Invisalign, where they need people with horrible teeth to show them that you have that. Acne comes up every single day, and everyone's pictures are airbrushed to look beautiful. And I want to submit people to these campaigns because they pay like $4,000 and you get like expensive facial cream. Like, who wouldn't want to do that? But if you don't have any raw footage on there showing your imperfections, because everyone's got something that they could perfect and get paid to do on camera, put it up there, don't be shy, but also have your glamorous one too. And I will pick and choose what's the right one. It doesn't have to all be public profiles. We just have it on the back end ready to use for when we need it. And definitely hands, because a lot of products, you can't do a Coke commercial if you don't have a picture of you holding up something to show what it's going to look like when you're holding a Coke can. So that's important to have that. As also too, feet. You want a head to toe body shot to show them what you look like. If you're up for a Nike ad, I can't just send them a smiling headshot. They need to see that you're athletic or, what Nike's looking for at the time, especially if it has to do with shoes. Show them your feet.
Yeah.
Cash you for a headshot picture. So many times I go to submit people for it, and then you could customize it on our end and choose which picture that you want to have. And I have to deselect that person being chosen for that commercial, even though I know that Nike would love them because I don't have a picture of their feet on their profile. So it gets me frustrated. But I always write memos every time. Want to submit you for a $6,000 Nike ad today, but you don't have any shoes in your pictures. So there goes that. And they're like, oh no, I'll get out right on it. And then later on in that day, usually I could always submit them, but you have to be on top of it.
Well, that's great that you're willing to actually make sure that you take care of your actors that way and write that email. Because there's many agents that would just say, you're not prepared, you're not there, you're wasting my time. That's great that you're always looking out like that. So that's good. But I think that's the greatest advice that you can tell any young actor, actress, model getting into the business is make sure you're fully prepared. And again, I think there's great people like you out there that they should ask questions. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking a potential agent or anybody questions. I mean, how do you feel about that? If there was an actor who really came to you and said, look, I think I'm prepared, but should I do X, Y, and Z to get to the next level?
Oh, yeah.
I think you'd almost welcome that, right? At least I would as someone.
Because it's just going to help you down the line, right? A lot of the students that we recruit out of college, because we've seen their showcases, love to ask questions. To the point where I'm like, I don't know if I want to go to these showcases anymore. But, they're just starting out and they really do need that guidance. And they don't know, which is why once a month, when I was recruiting, I do like to have new talent meetings just similar to this, where I tell everybody at once everything they need to know. And even for our existing talent too. I love jumping on Zoom calls with everybody and telling them what's happening and what I need and what's gonna, help us out with their careers. So I don't.
I mean, there's the competition is at least 160,000 plus SAG actors, right? So there's a lot of competition out there. So if you're not prepared, someone else is going to get the job.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot more to just dreaming and wishing and hoping. You got to act on it. You've got to get everything lined up and, like you said, do your research. I love reading books. What was the last book? I've read so many baby books now. All of my actors have gone out of my head. But it was something like guerrilla marketing for the actor or something.
Sure, yeah.
And it was a really good book about everything you need to do before you even get the audition, just for people to be able to see, know you and have your profiles ready. So if I think of it, I'll let you guys know. All I know right now is how to not let your baby drown or choke. On how to reduce their fever and how to get them to stop crying.
I'm sure it's been a blessing for you, actually. I'm sure it's a completely different world, and I'm sure you're treasuring those moments that are not frustrating for you right now.
Yeah, yes, you said it right. The moments that aren't frustrating.
You know how most actors and actresses are. Are we all a little bit babies in our own world? So it's like you have 301 kids now, basically.
You're spot on about that. That's and he needs my undivided attention, but it seems like everybody else does too. Very thin here.
You are somebody that looks out for everyone, really. Everything you've done with building your business,
yeah,
really incredible. I've rarely met anyone like you that actually takes the time out to actually take care of their actors or performers or models to make sure they're getting the knowledge they need. Those Zooms that you do are so informative for even people that weren't picked as new clients. You're giving them great advice that they can not only be maybe picked by you in the future, but other agents. You're not afraid to give advice to people. It shows your leadership abilities, and just I can't wait for MWA to just keep getting even bigger and bigger. Not that it's great, not big enough now, but you're just going to be huge. I mean, it's fantastic. Everything you're doing is really just inspiring. It really is.
Thank you. And I don't want people to think that I'm not picking them. I really am very open to taking on a majority of people who reach out to me because they're referrals most of the time. The only reason why I would tell somebody to circle back, and I never tell people, no, absolutely not, never. I always tell people, here's what I need from you in order for us to get started, and I'm here when you're ready. But the only time I may say not right now is because I already have that type on my roster and I don't want it to be unfair to that other person I'm already representing. So they need to keep searching for an agency that may need them at this point. So right now I know exactly what casting is looking for, which is extremely unique. Real survivors with stories to tell.
Sure.
That's what I honestly ask them in my interviews. I'm like, so what have you been through in life? Will help me book you on these jobs because they don't care if you studied at Juilliard anymore. I'm very proud of you. I'm sure you were great, but I'm sorry you wasted all that money because it wasn't for anything.
A different world nowadays. I mean, it's completely different.
Yeah. But we are now representing kids. So Caden has really inspired me to open up a whole nother level. Because they are always looking for families. Before I was like, well, no, I'm not dealing with stage moms and, kids are always in school. They don't have time to audition and get these shoots done. And, a lot of them are always, have a lot of questions. They don't know what they're doing. They're getting started. So I didn't feel like I necessarily do that. But a lot of the children or child actors they have brought on, are children of the actors that I already represent. Right. So everyone had babies at the same exact time as me. That's when we have about 8 1-year-olds on the roster. But it worked out really good. I got in a job as a crying baby in an airplane in his first movie. We got a waiver on the very first job he ever did.
Hey, that's awesome. Right. That's correct.
15 months. Slow this down. But it was really good. It was hard. It took him 16 takes because he's such a happy child. And then finally he's like, get me off this airplane. I'm like, keep going. So we got it. But it took a while. But also I started a new project called Broadway Babies, where I teach all the babies in town because it's easier to do locally with local moms, how to sing and dance and act. And we have little costumes and musical instruments and just open play for an hour, but with Broadway tunes playing in the background. We talk about little things like Annie and Oliver and Dumbo and musicals that are related to children and stuff. That has been really fun. I love seeing when Caden was born. I was like, there should be something like this because he likes watching these shows on YouTube, like Mr. Rachel and Blippi or shows these days.
Sure.
Watch. But nothing really has to do with Broadway. And there's so many great songs on Broadway that have to do for kids. So I thought I'd create that if nobody else has already created it. But in my circle, it's new. Haynes loves it. So it's every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. We have a dance studio we teach at called the Dance Project in Whitestone in Queens. And any mothers can come on down and I play with their babies. And we put on shows. It's really, really cool.
Is there a number or a website, an email anybody can reach you at that'd be interested in kind of learning more about that?
Yeah. I do just all through the agency because in this way, if their parents are interested in their kids learning more or signing up on how to be child performers, then I help them through that as well. So they could always email me, and it's my name, Katherine, Katherine, and that's at mwamodels.com. But again, it's going to be changing to MWA Talent soon. So Katherine at MWAtalent.com. So yeah, they can reach me there anytime. And I'm always open to having new students. They don't have to pre-register. They just hop on in anytime it's free, because I know it's so challenging with a child to be like, yeah, we'll be there. And then, they pooped all over the place and you can't get out of the house for another half hour and then you miss the class. So I don't care if you're late. I don't care if you come one week and don't come the next week. Just come whenever. We're happy to have them. And it's a lot of fun. The kids are cracking up the whole time. It's great.
That is a great open door policy. Last final quick question. How does Katherine find time for Katherine with all the amazing stuff you have going on? Because it's incredible, really, everything you're doing.
Luckily, my gym has very early morning classes because we're up at the crack of dawn, and a kids club. So we put the baby in there to watch for an hour. I go do my yoga or my Pilates and I feel better. And then I'm ready to start the day. But I do a lot of meditation in this steam room and sauna while I'm there too. Clear my head, get everything going. And then I'm ready to take on the world. But if I didn't have kids club at this gym, forget it. I cried the first 6 months until I discovered that every day. I was never going to feel like myself again. But now it's a year later and I'm getting back to it. So.
Well, let me tell you, you are an inspiration to all of us, really. Again, this is Katherine, MWA Talent. It is quite incredible. We have to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. You have really been an incredible person. There's so many people that look up to you, want to be involved with what you're doing, and I hope a lot of people can learn a lot from this podcast listening to you. We just want to thank you so much for coming on again.
Thank you. I hope they reach out. I have an open door policy, so anytime, call me, email me. I actually answer the phone and write back.
What that goes a long way, everybody, because most people do not do that. They do not actually answer the phone or write back. It says what a character Katherine actually is. Again, for the Live Your Dreams podcast, and it was a pleasure to have Katherine on. My name is Joe Gawalis with my co-host Chris Victor. And remember, it's the dreamers that make the world go around, and we are the dreamers. So everybody take care, and thank you for tuning in again, and take care, everybody. Thank you so much.